Hello and welcome back to school. Welcome to San Marin High School and welcome to STEM Marin. This is our back to school night presentation for STEM Marin's physics and engineering classes. And I am Nick Williams. So, um, first, this is my 19th year here at San Marin High School. I started just a couple years out of college, and I have just loved it and wanted to stay year after year after year. If you are in the third and fourth period class, then you have me for both of your class periods for both physics and engineering, and I'm the official teacher for both. And we have a regular classroom with 34-ish students. If you're in sixth and seventh period, then you have two teachers. Um, Technically on your roster, it'll say Peter Burkout for your physics teacher, and it'll say Nick Williams for your engineering teacher. Practically, though, we open up the walls between our classrooms, and it is one enormous class of 68 people. So a little bit about me. Um, I grew up in Oakland. I went to UC Davis. I spent a couple years living in England when I was very young in early school, and my parents are from New Zealand. Um, After high school, I went to UC Davis, where I majored in evolution and ecology. So it was a lot of mathematical modeling of large scale populations for ecology things. And honestly, what I mostly did at Davis is played Ultimate Frisbee. I played for the UC Davis men's Ultimate Frisbee team for all 4 years and had a great time doing that. When I was a senior in college, I went to the grimiest club on actually off campus, technically just off campus, the Davis Graduate, and found myself dancing with this girl, and then eventually falling in love with this girl, and then realizing through that process that everything that I loved about her was directly related to her being a kindergarten teacher. All of the values that I really appreciated and loved about her correlated beautifully to her living her values in teaching kindergarten. And I realized that I probably needed to be living my values in those same ways. So a year after graduating, I went back to school, got a teaching credential and a master's of science education from UC Davis, and I have been here ever since. I ended up marrying that same girl. That's my wife, Melissa. And we now have three kids, two at Sinaloa and one at Pleasant Valley. And Melissa teaches kindergarten at Rancho Elementary. So we are at all of the NUSD schools, not all of them, but a good percentage. Um, if you are in sixth and seventh period, then you'll also have Mr. Burkhout. Conveniently, Mr. Burkhout will be here in person for back to school night, and he can tell you all about himself at that point. But you will notice he also has three children. They also enjoy frozen treats. We have so much in common. It's a really good teaching partnership. We bring different strengths, but we collaborate together really well. And I think that combination is really nice for the students to get different perspectives and have different expertise and have two people to go to. So if you're in that group of 68, 66, 60, however many we have, I think you're in really good hands with both of us. All right. So physics and engineering is the first two classes in our STEM Marin engineering pathway. And we are going to focus on engineering and physics in terms of our content, but our real focus is in helping students become the best possible versions of themselves. And primarily, that involves building a lot of skills that are transferable to anything that they want to do in life and in and out of school. So we're going to have a really strong emphasis on developing a strong work ethic. We're going to be doing a lot of project-based learning where students have to manage their own time and manage people and manage resources. And so we're going to teach them all the skills necessary to do that and to kind of build some executive functioning skills. And those would translate really nicely if they choose to go into engineering or if they choose to go into anything else in life. As part of that, we'll be doing a ton of critical thinking and problem solving. Um, both related to physics and sometimes outside of relating to physics. We'll be really developing students' communication skills, both written and in presentation formats. So we want students to be able to really clearly express themselves and give a really solid presentation, and then be able to write up their findings and do it that as well. We'll also be doing everything in small groups. So collaboration will be a daily component in terms of working with a wide variety of different people. We'll go through 10 different projects, and each one they'll get a new group. So they'll end up working with just about everybody in the class at some point during the year. And then finally, we're going to build some creative thinking. Creativity, when you think about engineering and science, is less about drawing the pretty picture and more about thinking about problems in different ways and how we can solve those problems by thinking about them creatively. So you'll notice that the physics and the engineering as a content piece, we're going to do that. But our real goal is building the students as people through all of those other skills. So our 4-year content plan, ninth grade, we take physics and engineering. That one is sometimes co-taught with Mr. Burkhout and I. That's the class you're in right now. Sometimes it's just me, but they are blocked together. So you'll notice there are 2 classes on your schedule, but they go back to back. So we ignore the bells in the middle and we just have 2 hours of working time together. In 10th grade, students take STEM biology and ecology. We're really excited about the rework of that class that we're doing this year. Really hands-on, really project-based. This year we have it taught by the same teacher, but they're not blocked together. So we'll see how that looks next year. 11th grade, everybody takes chemistry, STEM chemistry, because chemistry is necessary regardless of what kind of science or engineering you're going into. And then you have an option for a STEM elective. So everybody has to take some other science or STEM class. But that could be any science or STEM class that we offer here at San Marin, or one at a local junior college if you prefer, if you want something very specific. So that could be AP Biology, AP Chemistry, AP Physics, AP Environmental Science, Marine Biology, Biotech 1, AP Computer Science, Cisco Academy counts. Yeah, many, many options. And that way, students have seen physical sciences during their first year, life sciences during their second year, and they can start making choices about which one really sparked their interest and which one they are more passionate about. And then in 12th grade, the entire engineering cohort takes the senior capstone engineering course. So that one is taught like a first year college class where they are running a senior project through the entire year, building the skills to run their own project and then running it the second semester. And then they also have another STEM elective. And that's in addition to their math class every single year. And you'll just follow your normal math progression wherever you are starting on, you'd go to the next class for all 4 years. Okay, so our annual schedule, we are going to run through 10 different projects over the course of the year. I'm going to break them up by semester and then talk through what we're going to try to learn and do for each of those. So in the fall semester, we are starting with a Rube Goldberg machine. So students are trying to design and build a very simple task to be accomplished in the most complex series of steps possible. This involves learning about motion, forces, work and energy, and how to use power tools, how to work together as a group, how to communicate out your ideas, how to blueprint things. It's kind of like a bringing everything together. And then we will culminate that by presenting out their Rube Goldberg machines to a public audience of parents, engineers, architects, artists, general experts in all the components that come together for that. And that will be in early October. Look forward to seeing you again at that point. It's usually really exciting. We get 300 or 400 people showing up, and it's a real go. Next, we move into the physics of sports, where students design a 2 to 3 minute instructional video on how to improve your athletic performance using physics. So they choose a sports action, explain how to do it correctly, and then how physics is used in that. So that's looking at projectile motion, forces, and transfers of momentum. Then we get into energy, and we hit energy in two different ways. First, we design some catapults and trebuchets, and we call that one Fire Away, looking at energy and projectile motion. And then we design an alternate energy vehicle or an alternate energy transportation system, looking at how we can transfer energy from potential to kinetic, and then eventually all out to thermal, so that it stops exactly at the 5 meter mark. So we're going to design some vehicles that can go 5 meters exactly, carrying two passengers, and then stop exactly on the mark. Students tend to love the fire away one because you get to send stuff as far as possible, and that's really fun. And then when we actually have to get specific and stop it at a certain mark while carrying a load, it gets really tricky. And so the alternate energy vehicle looks for accuracy and precision more than just raw power, make it go. So it's a nice balance of getting both of those and then thinking about how we engineer for those different components as we have different constraints. So Rube Goldberg machines, you will see them in early October. But this is one previously where you can see there's a whole bunch of different steps. It's themed, and so this one was Halloween themed because it was coming into October. And their end goal was to dispense a single piece of candy into the bowl through a whole bunch of different steps that were all Halloween oriented. To get there, we are going to do a ton of collaborative work. This is our 8 meter ramp lab. So we're going to do some energy transfers and some motion in the middle of class by running some objects down an 8 meter long ramp. Students have to all work together to gather data, analyze that data, and then write up their findings. And you can see that that requires students to be really self-focused. Um, they are really responsible for taking ownership of their own learning. We will give them all the opportunities and reminders of getting onto track. And then it's a matter of ensuring that they are really owning that component of their learning. And that's one of our big focuses through project-based learning, is that we want to give students and empower them with the ability to manage their learning and then let them cook and help ensure that they're doing that. Here's an example of an alternate energy vehicle. We'll do a lot of graphing, looking at how energy is transferred. In the spring semester, we get into all of the other parts. We've done kinematics and energy and motion and forces so far. And so now it's getting into all the other components of physics. So we're going to start with solve a world problem, which is just an energy or an engineering design project. Students identify all of the problems that they think are facing the world, and then we try to use the engineering design cycle to create a solution to some element of that problem. So that can be as small as untied shoelaces or as large as global famine. And then they try to figure out how they can engineer something that would help ameliorate that problem in a ninth grade way. Really, that one is focused on doing really good scientific research. So we're going to do a lot of reading first sources, journal articles for science, annotating those articles so that they can get good data to base their solutions on. Then we jump into intergalactic planetary, where we study gravity and orbits, and students will design a model, usually a mathematical model, representing the motion of objects in the solar system. So they'll have to try to figure out how they can predict the location or the speed or some other element relating to the force of gravity about different objects in the solar system, and then how we might use that to help launch a satellite or to help launch a spacecraft from one planet to the other. Then we will get into our STEM outdoor space and outdoor furniture. So this one's really focused on infrastructure and design. If you look around campus, you might notice there are a whole bunch of redwood benches that have different architectural features. Our students will be designing a variety of different outdoor redwood benches. We'll be looking at how to blueprint things, how to budget things, how to manage those resources, and build 3D models so that we can actually build those in real form. And then we'll put some of them on the San Marin campus, and then we will send some of them to our feeder campuses at local elementary and middle schools. So last year we installed benches at Pleasant Valley, at Rancho Elementary, at Olive, and three at San Marin. So it's kind of a fun one, and students get to see their work in the real world and then sit on it for the next 3 years. Then we get into waves. We'll do a build a band projects where students will design a band of instruments that can each play a full octave of musical notes. So we'll talk about how you can modify those to adjust the frequency and the wavelength. And then we'll finish with our robot art show, where we're learning about electricity, robotics, and programming. We're going to use some Arduino boards, which are microcomputer controllers that you can program in and then make them do what you want. So it's a rough introduction to electric circuits and programming to try to make some robots that will make art once they have killed off all the humans and artificial intelligence has taken over. Our hope is that by developing some of these robot appeasing skills, they will spare some of humanity. So that's our big picture plan for the future, you know. And then finally, we will finish the year by doing a Do It Better project where we will go back through something that they've done previously in the year and try to refine and improve their already good work. The big lesson on that one is that good work is never totally finished. You can always make your good design better. So this one's really focused on the redesign component of the engineering design cycle, and it gives them an opportunity to improve their understanding and increase their work if there was an area that they didn't do their best work on the first time. And then for some students, they get to take it even further to good work to outstanding work. All right. In terms of grading, we grade on the proficiency-based scale. So this is a 1 through 4 scale. Level 4, basically our target where we would like all students to be getting to is at level 3. If they are doing everything that they are asked to do and they're doing it well and they're showing mastery or proficiency in that level, that's a level 3, and that correlates grade-wise to an A minus. Many of our students will be able to go beyond what is directly taught and will be able to take their understanding to a greater level by applying their knowledge in some way. A lot of the project-based work that we do gives students the opportunity to go from I can get the right answer to I can apply the right answer and incorporate some other ideas. Like from my algebra class, I can use that graphing skill to do a component here as well. Or I can think about the social context of this and how I can bring in the social context to a physics or an engineering concept. So that would be going above and beyond, and that would be a level 4, which pushes to the A plus. As students are getting there, a level 2 is our simple or foundational skills. So that'd be like knowing the vocabulary, being able to do the primary skills that then build into solving the final problem. So maybe I can set up the problem, but I can't quite solve it. Or I can do the math to solve it, but I can't always interpret the question correctly to figure out what I'm solving for. So that would be in the simple foundational skills. And then if you're sometimes getting to the target and sometimes still struggling, that would put you at a 2.5, which is at a B. I'm very hopeful that we should have no students at levels 0 or 1. As long as you are trying hard and putting in the work, we should be making good progress. The other really nice thing about proficiency-based education is that it is based on the understanding that you are going to start not knowing what you're doing. And then as the school year progresses, so you might start with like, hey, I have never solved these kinds of problems before. And so I'm learning the simple foundational skills. So the first time you try something, you might be at a level two. You can memorize the vocabulary, you know the basic skills. As we practice it more and more, you build up to a 2.5, and then a 3, and then hopefully even a 4. If that grade book is then showing 2, 2, 2.5, 3, 3, 4, the final score for that progression would be a 4. Because the goal is to build understanding over the course of time. And if at the end of the unit or if at the end of the semester you can really clearly demonstrate your understanding and you have a couple of data points that demonstrate, like, oh, yep, you met level 3 right there. That's what we want. We expect that school is for learning. And so your final score would reflect that. So that gives students the opportunity to continue to refine their understanding, to continue to refine their work, and to really grow and have their final score reflected in their current understanding. Right? It also means that students have to keep trying the entire time. Because if you started at like a 3 and then you're like, oh, I got this, I don't need to worry about it, and then your next two results were like a 2 and a 2, we would probably say that you're at like a 2, maybe a 2.5, because our last data points show that you didn't really understand it. So it provides a little bit of accurate assessment of where students' understanding is in the current moment. In the grade book, you'll notice that scores will go in, and initially it will just do a raw average. At the end of the semester, I have a category for each of our standards, and I go through and look at the general trend and then put in the final score. Um, so if you are seeing it and you're like, whoa, but that 2, 2, but they have the 3, 3.5 at the end there, it it will still average the twos in, but at the semester, their final score will be that 3, um, if they've demonstrated it clearly, right? And in a consistent way. So, in terms of supporting your student, um, the first one is because we do everything project-based and hands-on, it's really difficult to replicate from home. A huge amount of what we're doing is collaborative work together. So being present is the number one thing that you can do. If at all possible, make sure that you're scheduling doctor's appointments, vacations outside of our school day. Attendance is huge. It's very difficult to make up. The second piece is that this may be the first time that your students are asked to do stuff that they don't know how to do. In middle school, we frequently say, like, here's how we'd like you to do it. Now, please do it. And they do it. And we have really good students in this classroom, and they get used to that. Now, we are going to start working on real world problems. And the unfortunate part with real world problems is that sometimes we don't know the solution. And by we, I mean students, and also sometimes me, right? When COVID-19, the pandemic started, I did not know what the right solution was, nor did the entire scientific community. They had to do quite a bit of research to get to a point where, like, okay, we think we have a better idea, and then we continue refining that over the course of time. Solving real problems is hard, and students will struggle with it sometimes because they'll be asked to really do some critical thinking. And so continuing to reassure them that, like, yeah, getting into it is difficult and it's supposed to be difficult and you're supposed to struggle and persevere through it. And that's how we get better at things, is by not knowing and then working hard to try to know. Another component of that is as they're coming into high school, really building those self-advocacy skills. Um, when they are concerned about something, if they're like, I don't think I'm understanding this, sit down with them and have them write the email to their teacher. It means so much if the student is reaching out and saying, hey, I am concerned that this isn't making sense to me. Could I come in for a tutorial? Could I come in for access so I can get some help understanding how to do this? Way better if it's, and it's such an important skill to learn how to reach out for help. So trying to build that self-advocacy for students and making sure that students are taking ownership of advocating for themselves. With that said, they are still 14 years old, and they are probably not brilliant at self-advocacy yet, or don't know how to craft a email very well yet. So by all means, reach out as a parent. There may be things that we are not aware of, so please reach out and let me know how things are going. I live around town. It's very likely that you will see me out and about. So say hi. Um, and then keep parenting. Um, your students are lovely. They, so far, so good. You've been doing a wonderful job. Teenagers are really tricky because, on the one hand, they want to push you away and get independence in every possible way. And on the other hand, they are children and desperately need your guidance and support. What you've been doing is awesome. Keep parenting them. Hold the hard lines that you've been holding while giving that opportunity to do the work and to grow and develop independence. It is one of the toughest parts of being a parent. I hope and assume I currently have a 13-year-old, and it gets better, right? It does get better. I feel like I'm so used to working with 14-year-olds, and 13 is like, oi. Um, but teenagers are tough. So keep doing what you're doing. Finally, in terms of your own expertise or support, we have a wonderful group that supports our STEM program and our science programs, which is the STEM Marin Fund. They are outstanding. They do so much work to ensure that we get a whole lot of opportunities that other schools don't. So anything that's outside of a normal high school classroom, a ton of the project-based learning stuff that we do in terms of supplies, field trips, um, comes from STEM Marin Fund's financing and advocacy. So please get involved with STEM Marin Fund. You can find their website at stemmarinfund.org. They will put out a request for funding and for expertise if you are able to provide some level of expertise. That'd be amazing. Similarly, our PTSA is awesome. Parent Teacher Student Association. They do a tremendous job supporting the San Marin High School community and the San Marin High School staff. If you are able to get involved in PTSA, that is also a tremendous way to help the entire school. Thank you so much for supporting your student. And we don't need that grading breakdown. So the grading breakdown, here you go. It's on the syllabus. This is what percentage goes into each proficiency scale for the fall and for the spring in physics and engineering. And you can find that on the student syllabus, which is in the core tools packet that your student has, hopefully, in their backpack, or in the link in the email that I sent on the first day of school. Thank you so much for bearing with me. I know that it is a long one because I take the full 25 plus minutes. I haven't been keeping track because we get 2 class periods together. Have a lovely rest of your day. I apologize for not being able to be there at back to school night in person because my sister is getting married in Oregon. And when you have the chance to get married on your brother's birthday on a Friday in September, got to take that chance. All right. Have a good one.